So I'm sure at this point many of you have heard about the Foundations Revealed competition. This was, I've heard about it before, but this was the first year that I actually decided that I had the time and a good idea to enter. The idea that I had for my project was originally going to be inspired by the legend, ou la légende de la chasse-galerie, which is a traditional French-Canadian folk story. And then due to lack of resources, I kind of decided against that. And instead I settled for, no, I didn't settle, I wanted to do it, to make a embroidered fichu inspired by the character of Catherine Morland from Jane Austen's Northanger Abbey. I had just finished studying this book in an English class at my university, and also I read a whole bunch of Jane Austen's works over the summer, and I love Catherine, I love the story of Northanger Abbey, so I thought this would be a really fun way to incorporate my literary interests into a project, and one that is historically accurate to beat. My main source of inspiration for the design that I used is from combining elements from the Jane Austen embroidery book, which is a lovely and very cute resource. The colors that I used are all from DMC, and here are the color codes. I'll also add that my lovely partner made these thread winders for me for Christmas and took some footage of his process, which I'll hopefully edit up soon and upload so you all can see how he did it. I wanted to use stash fabric because I didn't want to have to wait for the mail to be delivered. So I think this is a cotton muslin, but it's very lightweight and very sheer, and I thought it would be the perfect fabric for a fichu because it's very drapey and it's not very heavy, which I can appreciate. I didn't buy a ton of embroidery supplies either. I'm still very new to this, so the pattern was done on, I think this is parchment paper, just traced over the design from the book, and then I darkened it later with Sharpie so I could place it underneath the fabric and then just trace over it. The arrows refer to those pencil markings, and I wanted to create a seam allowance, so the pencil markings are 1 inch from the edge, so I would have enough room for when I did the self-rolled hem. The pen that I'm using for the transfer of the design is a Papermate erasable gel pen. My mom and I use these a lot because they disappear with steam from an iron. So I could have a dark enough pattern that I could see and something that wouldn't rub off, like maybe chalk, and it would disappear very easily with a press cloth and some steam after I was done with the whole design. The fabric gets really wrinkled anyway, so this would have to be ironed before putting it on for final photos for the submission for the contest. I then had the painstaking chore of hemming the whole thing. I did a self-rolled hem, or a ladder hem. I'll put a tutorial in the description. I'm really pleased with how the hem turned out. It's a bit lumpy in places, but again, it was a new skill that I learned. And I found that the hardest part was the hypotenuse of the fichu, the part that goes around my neck, is cut on the bias for better drape, but that made it really stretchy and difficult to hem that part. I don't have much footage of the embroidery process, mostly because I did it at all hours of the day, sometimes during online lectures. Like, it was just any spared moment that I had, I would take it to embroider. So by the time I took this footage, I had done most of the design already. I also ran out of the green that I was using at one point and thought that I wouldn't be able to finish this project on time, and then ended up finding a whole hank of it downstairs with the other embroidery threads. So I was definitely feeling very lucky at that particular moment. One thing that I think I failed to mention earlier when talking about the design is that this isn't just one single design from the Jane Austen embroidery book. It's actually a combination of about 3 different designs that I put together to create this repeating vine motif. Here you can see how I embroidered on top of that erasable pen very clearly. Once the embroidery was on top of the pen, it basically just became invisible anyway, and I didn't have to steam a lot of it off.